In this video, we are going to cover saving your different implements into the display so that you are not re-entering your implement widths and measurements and things like that. It is easiest to do if you go to Settings, and when you are on the settings screen you go to System, and in System you go to Advanced, and at the top here you see a Save Load Configurations. Go ahead and go into that, and if you haven't saved it already, we want to go ahead and save our current configuration. So how do I come up with a configuration? If you go back to your run screen, and if you go to Field, and if you can remember, when we open up a new field and create a new field, we tell it which pattern we want, but we also have our implement setup, our implement width, how much overlap and skip we want to run, any kind of offset, a forward back offset, the measurement from the antenna back to where the implement contacts the ground, a seed tube on a corn planter, a set of gangs on a disc, chisel plow point for a hay mower, the cutter bar. If you're on a combine, it would be the snapping rolls where they start on your combine, or the cutter bar on the combine, or the spray boom. And then you have a hitch to ground contact point. That would be from where the hitch pin goes through the drawbar back to where your previous things like your seed tube, your gangs, your points, your cutter bars are at. That measurement, the length of the hitch of the implement itself. And then on the bottom you can choose whether it's a mounted implement or a drawbar implement. Once you have those settings in your display and you have opened a field and you ran with the 30-foot wide implement, whatever it was in the field, and you were eliminating as much overlap as possible, and you liked the measurements and it was steering the tractor, or you were driving exactly where you wanted to, go ahead and we'll go back into your settings, your System, Advanced, and Save Load Configurations, and we want to save our current configuration. This will also save any kind of steering for the Easy Steer and the Easy Pilot configurations for your tractor or sprayer or combine that are in here. It'll save all your steering profiles, your calibration numbers. Each of those will be saved. So what I would suggest is to, if you have a steering system, to create a configuration once everything is calibrated and steering well. Just save that configuration as, for example, a Fendt 927 tractor. Now bear in mind your autopilot settings at this point, other than your online aggressiveness, are not saved. They're in the Nav2 controller, and you would have to save those through the AP toolbox, and any kind of precision farming specialist can save those for you, those configuration files from the Nav2 controller. So in order for what we're going to do here, you will see I already have some settings saved. Some configurations that are in here are, you have FM 750 settings, and I go through and do that when I first get a display and set the GPS settings and guidance settings and light bar settings and nudge and all those, because from the factory it may not be completely set up. So you will probably see that on your displays if you've gotten them from us. And I've got a specific file here for doing these movies that I've already saved. So at any time, whenever I want to make a movie here, I can go back in and pull up my movie file and know my implement width that we've been running at 30 feet is going to be saved in there. Any kind of other measurements and my calibration of my Easy Steer system will all be saved in there. So we have our current profile that we just created, and we want to save that. So we want to save it to internal memory, so hit the green check, And here you go ahead and type in whatever you want to call it. We'll call it a Fendt 933 tractor, and hit the green check, and it's going to save that to the internal memory in the display. And then once the hourglass goes away, it will be saved for us. And now it is completely saved. So if we go into our field that we have opened up and we input it in our implement width of 30 feet, and then we go back in and we have our implement. Let's say we are pulling a corn planer, and so we want to save this tractor with this corn planer. We will go to Advanced, Save Load Configurations, and Save Current Configuration. You can see the one we just saved, which is just our tractor, our Fendt 933, has been saved in there, and you can go back and pull that up at any time. But we want to save a new one with our implement, so we hit the green check, and our tractor is a Fendt 933, and our implement is our corn planter. So what this is going to save is all of our measurements that we inputted in for our corn planter, our width, our length from the antenna back to the seed tube, and our hitch length, as well as if you have air clutches. This will save all your calibrations that you have done for your TrueCount air clutches, and I would highly suggest saving that all in one file. So this has all my tractor steering information as well as all my corn planter information with whatever I'm running. It would also save your different rates if you're doing variable rate and those kind of things while planting corn. So once you have your name in there, just go ahead and hit the green check, and you'll get the hourglass, and that means it is saving it. Whenever we want to bring up a previous implement that we already have in there, we would go to Settings, System, Advanced, Save Load Configurations, and let's say we want to load a different configuration. So you can see now our original one we saved was a Fendt 933, and our Fendt 933 and corn planter is also saved on here. If we want to load our tractor and corn planter, our Fendt 933 profile with corn planter, we just hit the green check, and it'll ask you to load configuration, and you hit the check, and the hourglass comes up, and it is switching to that implement that you have already set up, and you can see our width is set at 30 feet. I would also highly suggest anytime you have saved a configuration file, if you make any changes, you want to resave that configuration file. Otherwise, when you pull it back up, it will not have your changes that you made saved in there for you. And one other thing we're going to do, I'm going to put a USB drive into the back of the display. And you will see on the top right, it recognized the USB drive. And with these configuration settings, especially when you get into your steering configurations and all your different implement configurations, just like anything else, I would suggest backing this up. So if you go back into Systems, Advanced, Save Load Configurations, and you remember we loaded the 933 and corn planter configuration, we want to save that configuration, and now we have the option to save it to a USB drive. So highlight USB drive, green check, and you type in whatever you want to call it, and it was a Fendt 933. Corn planner and hit the green check, and it is saving it currently to the USB drive. I would highly suggest to back up your configuration files onto a USB drive and keep the drive, whether it's in your tractor or in your pocket or in your farm office, wherever it's easily accessible. If you ever have to change display out, or something goes wrong in the display, I would always have your configuration files backed up on here, as well as your fields. And to save your fields to the USB drive, you go to Data and Manage Data and USB, and you have the option to retrieve data or send data. Hit the send data, and at the top here you see send fields to USB. Go ahead and hit that, and it is reading the files. This may take some time to do, but it will be worth it to have everything backed up for you. And you can go into your client and just choose all your fields will be transferred over. If you only want to transfer over a select few, you can go through individually if you would like. So the fields were sent to the USB, and this is the basics on how to save your different implements, saving them by configuration, and how to save them to a USB drive, and how to send your fields to a USB drive also. Thank you very much. If you have any further questions, contact Lau & Young.